Okay, I want to start this episode off by asking everyone a question. And that question is, what are you afraid of?
Oh, you're getting right into it.
I'm getting into it.
I like it.
But yeah, what are you afraid of? Think about it for a minute.
Is there something in your life that you're scared to do currently? Or there's something holding you back from doing it? Right?
Yes. And
Okay.
why are you not doing it?
Mm.
Why are you letting the emotion of fear stop you
Yeah.
from progressing or moving or changing or taking action on something?
Okay. All right. Well, cat's out of the bag. Lauren just let out the whole topic, right? We are going to talk about the emotion fear today because if you know anything about us, we talk a lot about emotions. And truthfully, personally, I think emotions are the most real thing that we could experience in this life. And a lot of people go to logic and trying to determine their lives and make decisions on logic. But what we've seen over the course of the past couple of years and in our own lives is that if you can make emotional based decisions, then the reward is that much higher.
Yeah, it was interesting with the Connect community that we have out right now. If you're interested in that, it's down below in the show notes. But we, in this community that we have that will start here in the middle of July, if you're listening to this in real time, but we are doing these yoga classes that I'm putting on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about those.
And this was our first week of doing those for the community, for people that are like signing up for the community, and then people like just here in Utah that are coming. And our Saturday class was on the sacral chakra, or energy center, or whatever you want to call it. I feel like when we use the word chakra, people are like, I can't listen to this anymore. It's witchcraft. But if we call it an energy center, people, I don't know. I think their mindset's a little bit different on it. I don't know. It's interesting.
But I understand where you're coming from because truthfully, when we got into all this, I was like, that's not real.
Yeah, you're
right?
like, chakra?
But what it is your energy centers in your body and they align from your head to your toes. Right?
Yeah.
And your sacral is where?
Is right below your belly button, and just right above like your pelvic bone. So it's kind of like your lower abdomen area.
So if you just think about all the energy that happens in like your sexual area, your sexual regions, your stomach, that like there's a lot that goes on throughout a lifetime in that area of your body.
And that was our Saturday class, because we're starting from our root chakra and then going up. Like, so the very last class will end in alignment of our energy centers, which was kind of fun for me to put this all together. But I've been doing workbooks with them. Yeah. And it was interesting that we're talking about fear today because when I was kind of doing my booklet and I was putting my booklet together for this energy center, I was like, Matt, like I know a lot about like chakras and all of that. Like I've been into this. That was probably one of the first things I jumped into when I kind of started my journey on this was more of the holistic side of things with like chakras and crystals and all of that. Like the very first event I ever did in this area was like a wellness night with, and you helped me put that on. And I did it with a friend of ours, and it was all about chakras. And so it's so funny, like it kind of felt like a full circle moment to come back to this, to do research again on it, now being a lot more educated on it. And I was so surprised that specific energy center has so much to do with emotion and communication with emotion. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit balls, we teach this. Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Yeah. And I was like, did you know that? And you were like, yeah, I knew that, which blew my mind that you already knew that. And it was new news to me. I was like, wait, hold on. I thought our sacral area was just creativity and sexuality. And a lot of times it gets like pegged as just sexual energy, but it's so much more than that. It's your creativity, it's your communication and all of that. And I think a lot of times why that gets like crushed is because we don't know how to communicate emotionally, and we let fear drive in the driver's seat. And like one of the questions that I asked was like, how did you play as a little kid? Because kids are a little they're fearless to a certain degree.
They are, yeah.
And so to look at like your child or to look at a kid and say like, how did you play when you were little? You're not worried about the ideas of other people. You're not worried about what they think. I mean, like, I look at our kids and their desire to want to sell things and to like be these little mini entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are like,
oh, they'll go knock doors. They'll do everything.
They do everything.
They'll stay out in the cold. They will, if it's too hot, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no fear behind any of it.
Well, and they get so creative in what they want to sell. Like, hey, we want to do a stand today. And I'm like, I don't have anything for you guys to sell. And they're like, we'll draw pictures. We will make bracelets. Mom, will you make cookies? Like, and help us make cookies so we can sell cookies. Like,
yeah.
It's never ending. The creativity part of it is there. And it's because there's no fear. And I'm like, hey guys, I don't know, like, in my mind, I'm like, well, is anyone going to buy this? Is anybody going to actually show up? And in their heads, they're like, well, like, we're not going to fail at this. We couldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just so interesting that
concept though is perfect. And we're going to touch on it.
Yeah.
But no, finish your thought though. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was rounding it out, but it really is just so interesting that this theme has come up so much in little small ways throughout this whole week, like with the yoga class. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, it's come up with clients. It's come up like in our personal relationship, just how much fear is this kind of emotion we're told as kids what to be afraid of and what to think. And like, it really is, if I'm thinking about like how a brain looks, it's like these little pathways in your brain that are slowly being formed as to like, nope, this is scary. Nope, you shouldn't do this. You should be afraid of this. This is going to cause harm here. Like, yeah. And obviously we're human beings, and obviously we need some of those things to keep us alive, right? We need to have a little bit of fear to keep us alive. But at the same time, is it really fear, or is that what's keeping us stuck as human beings?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so first of all, your yoga stuff is amazing. So anybody out there that would love, or that kind of needs to tap into themselves a little bit more, reach out to us, because that's why we created this community, this Connect community, and then also why we're doing the in-person events. But yeah, if we talk about fear, so we created this thing that's called that we call the emotion scale.
Yeah.
And fear comes up all the time in our conversations with clients. And it's because it's apparent in the world. Like, we are scared of everything. And so we've got a couple of requests of like, hey, can you do an episode on fear? So that's why we're doing this ultimately. But it's interesting because every time that we feel fear, there's something on the other side of that feeling that is going to give us exactly what we want. Right. And I think that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Because every time that you're scared of something personally, if you would just imagine the times looking back, because you've got evidence of that in your life, right? Whether you would go back to when you were young, or whether you go back yesterday or a week ago. When I was scared and I ran away, did I get what I wanted, or am I frustrated with myself in that situation? Right. So that's one scenario that you can pull evidence from. And then the other scenario is like, when I was scared and I actually did the thing, how did I feel about myself? Right. And so,
well, I think one of the funniest examples that is so funny to me is like, growing up, I was like terrified of roller coasters. Oh, okay. So scared of roller coasters. Like, I remember crying on Splash Mountain, like holding on to the log seat in front of me, like screaming at my dad because
it's too scary.
It was too scary. It's like such a funny memory now looking back. But in the moment, I was like, I'm probably going to die on this ride. Like, my life's over. Yeah. And I was like 12. Like, I wasn't little. Like, I was like a full grown, like, adolescent. Yeah. It's embarrassing. It's fine. But thinking about, like, our kids and how much they teach us, it's so funny. Our oldest was telling me when he did his Mother's Day thing, and one of the questions that he wrote on there was like our favorite memory.
Yeah.
And it was, I convinced him to go on like the Incredicoaster at Disneyland a couple years ago.
That was me.
No, I convinced him.
Oh, okay.
Don't say it was you, because it was me. Right. I swear on my life, it was me.
Okay.
You had said you should go, and he was like, I don't want to. I'm scared.
Okay.
And you were like, that's okay, buddy.
The one that got him to go. Okay, yeah.
You were the nicer parent, truthfully, in this story. You were like, it's okay, dude. Like, when you're ready, we can go. Like, I think you'd really love it. And I was like, quit being a baby. Like I know you're going to like it. And he was worried. He was scared. His fear was he thought he was going to fall out
Yeah.
of the straps because he was like a hairline. Like we were like stuffing socks in his shoes. And he says to me all the time, like, Mom, I'm so happy that you convinced me to go on Incredicoaster.
Yeah.
Because him and I wrote it together for the very first time because he was so scared. And I was like, I'll hold your hand the entire time. I'll hold the thing. I won't let you fall out. I promise you're not going to fall out. I know how it feels to be scared of going on a roller coaster, but it's so much fun. I know that you're going to love it. If you'll just give it one shot, you're going to love it. And we went on it. And that kid's more obsessed with roller coasters than any child. He is now fearless. Like he will go on the scariest roller coasters. And I just teased him when we went just barely on a roller coaster in Las Vegas, just barely. I yelled his name while we were going down one of like the bigger drops because it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And he got me to go on it. So it's so funny. It's like you were saying, what is fear holding you back from?
Well,
like, and who told you that it was scary to begin with?
And that was the topic. That's the thing there. And so, I mean, even with him, who told me he was going to fall out? Like, where did he get this idea of that? Right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens to us on a daily basis. And that's what happens to us, like, societally. Everyone has been taught that something's scary. Who told you that what you are currently trying to do is scary? What evidence do you actually have of it that is scary? Right? If you've been there before and done that before, then you might have a little bit more evidence, right? But at the same time, we know that if you push into that, then you're going to get what you want, which is just come out of the other side. More often than not alive, and you'll be totally fine, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we were told by somebody or shown by somebody that we should be scared of the current situation that we're in. And so what we do is we hunker down and we don't do anything with it. And we stay stagnant and we don't push into it. Like I fall into this trap all the time. And one of the coolest things that I've actually learned is that if we can separate our subconscious and our conscious brain, right? To actually start to listen to the one that isn't afraid, right? Because you yourself, as the human being that God created you to be, came with no fear. Like what you said, kids aren't afraid of anything until somebody shows them that they should be scared. But this perception is that our brain tries to keep us safe. We talk about that all the time, right? So neurobiologically, you are programmed to stay safe. And so anytime that you feel fear, logically, your mind's going to tell you, hey, we shouldn't do this thing, right? But if you tap into self, you understand that you are safe. And you were always enough. And this is not the scary situation, right? The thing that we should actually be scared of is what our brain is trying to keep us safe from. And our brain like telling us, saying, hey, this isn't the right thing.
That's interesting. I like had this thought while you were talking. I think a common theme in a lot of relationships is like, I don't feel safe in this relationship, or like they don't make me feel safe.
We hear that literally all the time.
Probably every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so interesting because like it's only gotten brought up a few times in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they don't see me, which I correlate to safety.
Okay.
In my world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so interesting that like the safety in the relationship part gets brought up of like they don't make me feel safe, or I don't feel safe, because we don't feel safe, you're in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we freeze and we hide and we don't have the conversation and we don't talk about things, and we just kind of, I mean, truthfully, we hide.
Yeah.
Like we kind of fawn back. We're like, no. Like you walk on eggshells or whatever that looks like. But in reality, what is that accomplishing? Like, what is that fear accomplishing in your relationship? If you are fearing something or you're not feeling safe,
mm-hmm.
why are you not changing that? Why are you not changing that environment? Why are you not having that conversation?
Yeah.
Because it's just holding you back from everything that could be.
Well, that's the realization that people need to have with that is associated with fear, is that it is not the propellant for anything, rather than it is what keeps you safe and what keeps you stagnant, what keeps you stuck. So when you get to the point where you are scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't push through it, you don't grow.
No.
Right? So, I mean, we've said this multiple times on this podcast, but my acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. And that's just what it is fear is not an actual thing. Like the perception that we have drummed up in our head of this scenario that's may or may not happen is actually what's scaring us. But it's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And like we talk about hypotheticals all the time in our relationship. And Lauren's like, well, what if this? And what if, and I'm just like, if I lived in a hypothetical world, I would not function. Right.
Okay. Yes. But I did that. I do that sometimes, a lot of times because I'm trying to keep myself safe.
Right.
And I'm mainly bringing this up because there's a big part of me that has stopped doing it
Mm-hmm.
because I was telling myself, like in my head, I was like, well, I go through all of these narratives and all of these situations
Yeah.
because I want to be prepared, because I want to know how, if they react, if I'm going to have a conversation with you, let's say, and I'm already preconceiving like, okay, cool. He's going to react this way.
Goes like to what we talked about
Or
last
he's
week.
like, okay, or maybe he's going to react this way, or maybe he's going to react this way. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be prepared no matter what the outcome that he comes to me with, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just causes anxiety. And again, I'm stuck in fear there because I'm having these hypothetical conversations or these hypothetical situations when in reality, if I just quiet my mind
Mm-hmm.
and just know that I can't control you or how you choose to respond to me.
Yeah.
All I can do is tell you how I'm feeling and communicate with emotion and propel forward onto like the fear spectrum there of like, hey, I'm feeling fearful, but I really truthfully want to make sure that our relationship is good.
Yeah.
And I want to have these conversations and I want to bring these things up because I don't feel safe and I want to feel safe. And in order to feel safe, I need to talk to you. So I'm not scared anymore about whatever preconceived thing I've drummed up in my head. Does that make
True.
sense?
It does, but with the caveat that I don't provide your safety for you.
Well, no, you don't. And that's the whole thing. But like, I don't feel safe because I'm not having the conversation.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah.
Like, I'm not creating that safe environment for me because I'm waiting for you to do something to make me feel safe. When in reality, you're never going to make me feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
You won't. That's just how it is.
Well, safety lies in the beholder. You saying me, I create my own safety, right? So I understand like abusive situations. I understand
Oh, for sure.
all of those things. And so, but what we're talking about is the fact that conversations, right? We run away from them because we don't feel safe, because we think that something else is going to happen. So it's fear.
Or like, I'm not going to tell my spouse something because I'm worried that they're going to, because I'm scared that they're going to respond this way, or I'm scared that they're going to react this way. It's like, one of my biggest questions for you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, is like, I mean, we can talk about like the mundane, like little conversations that, couples have every single day.
Yeah.
But when like shit gets real and you have to have real conversations about real things that are scary and there is that like fear of like, well, my spouse could leave me or, all of that. Where do you go on that side of things? Because I know where I go on like the fear side of like, oh, I don't know. Do I trust him kind of a thing?
Well, it happened for me with the whole porn conversation that we had a while ago.
Yeah.
Because I was scared as shit to even tell you that I had a porn problem, right? Super scared, actually, to the point where I didn't tell you for 8 years of our marriage.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't tell anybody about that. I hardly even could tell myself, right? And so, and I knew nothing about this at that point. I just knew that it was more of like the analogy of like when it gets so bad, there's only up to, like the only place to go is up.
Yeah.
And I understood that. And so that fear genuinely caused me to act, right? And now I know that had I not acted in the direction and been able to have a conversation with you that was really, really fucking hard, I potentially would have lost my life, right? Because I was so stuck in my ways. Like I was grieving so much. I was so scared. Like the fear definitely was killing me. It 1000% was killing me. Being so scared to do something, to tell the truth, to be my authentic self, to actually talk was debilitating, right? And so I don't know if that answers your question, but it was the driver to get me what I actually wanted in my life, and that was to have an open, I say open relationship, but that's not what it is. It's being able to communicate with you openly.
Yeah.
For you to actually know who I was. Like my biggest want was to be free from the chains that fear held me back. And I love that you asked that question because I haven't gone to that spot for a really, really long time emotionally, right? But I love going there because it was the biggest teacher for my life. And knowing who I am now, pushing past fear and getting to the point where I will literally have any conversation with anybody and you can ask me a question and I'll give you the honest answer 1000% of the time. I wouldn't take that back for anything. Right? So my head was drumming up the fact that like you were going to leave me or like, I mean, even if you just go with that, right? But at the same time, I had no idea. And I just kind of had to accept the reality for myself that if I did push into fear, then that it was the best thing for me, right? Because I couldn't live with the debilitation of what it was doing to me.
Oh, I love that.
So I think that, and just having that mentality of saying, if I stay scared my whole entire life, I won't accomplish anything. Like that, I mean, staying stuck, that costs more than whatever's on the other side of fear. That costs more than actually having the hard conversation, doing the hard thing, right?
Yeah.
Go for it.
No, go keep going. You're great.
There's a book that's called The Way of the Superior Man.
Yeah.
And I've actually learned a ton from it in reading it. And it talks about finding your edge. And your edge is just where you feel fear and can push a little bit past it.
I wanted to make that sexual really bad. I didn't.
I don't know how you would, but and there's two types of people, right? I guess you could classify it as three types of people. There's people that continually live on pushing way past their edge. So once they're scared of something, they'll go 10 steps further and just live constantly. These are people that like, I guess you could call them high performers, right?
Okay.
Because they are constantly doing things. They're constantly selling. They're constantly having conversations. They're constantly doing something. But when they slow down, right, they actually don't know who they are. But it's because they push past all of their stuff. So, and then there's another person is something that never goes close to their edge. And so they never jump into fear and they never do anything with their lives, right? And so the book talks about living just barely past your edge. So what it is that like in every single day, in every single scenario, once you find your edge and once you're actually scared of something, to do that thing that you're scared of every single time, right? And that's living just past your edge, because what that's going to do is propel you into the productive person that doesn't stay stagnant, that doesn't procrastinate, that when you feel that sense of fear, you know that you have to act.
Yeah.
Right. So I loved that analogy because I mean, even right now in my life, I'm doing that. We are doing that where it's just like, dang it, like I really don't want to do this in my day. Right. And it's hard. And we could talk about choosing your hard because that's beautiful as well. And it's scary, but I know on the other side of this scary, I'm going to get what I want. And that's the project's going to be done. The conversation's going to be had, right? The work's going to be done, whatever it is. And so, yeah, finding your edge, like what scares me, and then living just past it. And so just pushing into those things that actually do scare you every single day is going to make you a productive person, because I'm talking a lot right now, but there's this, I mean, your glass ceiling, and I talk about cycles a lot with our clients, and like self-sabotage. It's when you're doing really, really well, like therapeutically, mentally, work, whatever it is, you're doing very, very well. And then you hit like the roof, right? And you're like, crap, I can't do this anymore. So you self-sabotage. Mm-hmm. and you go back into past programming, your old habits, all those things. And then you come back up and you're like, oh, wait, I need to be better. And you go back up and you get to your glass ceiling. And so living on your edge is continually going past your glass ceiling, breaking through it and starting a brand new cycle rather than self-sabotaging every time you hit your edge. Right. So it's pushing into fear.
No, I really like that. I was thinking like one of the questions I get a lot from our clients and people in general, like on Instagram and our email, with like our story, like you were saying, like your like fear propelled you to, you know, tell the truth to me and to act. On my end, it's like, okay, I get the question a lot of like, well, how do you trust him? Like, how do you know if he's lying to you? And like all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was like, I don't know. Like it was really hard for me to answer that question for a really long time because there was just a point in our relationship where like that used to, the thought or the story that was going on in my head of constantly wondering if you were telling me the truth or if you were lying about something or if I was getting a whole truth or a half truth or whatever that looked like was exhausting. like kind of exactly what you were just saying, right? It was this, like, it was driving me mad of like, I don't know, is he? I don't know. All these things, like he could be doing this, he could be doing that. And like every which way back and forth.
Yeah.
And it was like one day I woke up and I just decided that I no longer wanted to live in fear. Like I no longer wanted to live in fear of if you were lying to me or if I was getting a half truth or if I wasn't, because at the end of the day, if I looked at the very worst thing that could happen, what did that look like? And what was my breaking point, I guess you want to say, right? And it was like, did I want to be in this relationship? Yes. Did I want, do I want to trust you? Yeah, I do. Do I want to give you every opportunity to tell me the truth? Yes. Right? And so it's like, cool. I'm going to choose to push past the fear and actually live my life. Because if I stay in the fear of trying to control somebody else, I'm going to lose that battle every time because I don't control you.
Yeah.
And so it was really just honestly having the mental mindset of like, especially with pornography, I know that some things are different, but with pornography, it was like literally like when I say the pathways in your brain, like it's like mine was rewritten. And I did not do any plant medicines. If someone's listening and they're like, you did a plant medicine journey, I haven't yet.
Yeah.
It's a goal of mine. I really do want to, but
Beautiful.
I haven't. So I know, sorry, that was like so off topic, but I was like, I feel like I need to mention that.
Your brain was rewired.
My brain was literally rewired to just be like, hey, like you can't control this. So stop worrying about it. Like choose to be in a relationship with this person that you want to be in a relationship with. If you don't want to be in a relationship, then don't be in a relationship with them. But like with the pornography, it was like, okay, cool. I had to ask myself a lot of really hard questions. Like, do I really think that it's that bad for you to view it?
Yeah.
How is it affecting me? Why is it affecting me? All of those things. So I got to question the fear and question like, what was what was driving me to be like, oh, okay, I'm going crazy because of all these things. Is he lying to me? Is he not? It was like, why do I care so much if you do watch porn, right? And I'm like, I had to answer all these questions for me personally.
For sure.
But it was like, once I really got down to the root of it, it was like, wait, if you watched it and like, do I really want to know? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm using this as my example right now because it's like the closest thing to us. And it was probably the biggest like change in my mind of like, I don't care if he watches it. I don't.
Does that correlate to fear though?
Because the thought of you like watching it or like the thought of you hurting me again, air quotes.
Yeah.
Would drive me insane. It scared me.
Okay, there we go.
And it was like, I felt like I had to make this drastic decision or I had to put this huge ultimatum on it. And it was like, at the end of the day, like I didn't really care what you were choosing to do. I just didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
But why was I giving you so much control to hurt me?
Okay.
When in reality, like the underlying cause of all of that came from my insecurities within myself.
Yeah.
In a really roundabout way.
Ooh. Okay. This fits perfectly into that because I looked up the like dictionary's definition of fear.
Yeah.
And the first thing that it comes up with is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. Interesting that it put that on someone else.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So it's an unpleasant emotion caused by belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain, or a threat. Okay.
Well, I mean, like I also use like the dumb example earlier when you mentioned that you wanted to talk about fear, and I was like, spiders for me have been something that are like a debilitating fear of mine, like absolutely debilitating. And I'm not saying I like them right now. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they still freak me out, but like they would debilitate me to the point where like I wouldn't do things or I wouldn't go places or like I couldn't like it was hard sometimes to be outside. Like I wouldn't sit in the grass and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like really honestly shifting and thinking to myself, like, well, why are they scary? Like, what's the meaning behind it? Like, maybe I can tell myself a new story behind what this thing actually means. And like, do I really want to believe that it's as scary as I've apparently somewhere? Because I can't even trace back to where I was like, oh, spiders are scary. Do you know what I mean? It's like, can I trace it back? And can I go back and say, hold on, I can't trace it back to an age, but now what do I want to believe? Like right now as a 31, am I 31? 31-year-old.
Yeah.
I didn't know how old I was. 31-year-old. What do I want to believe? Do I want to believe that they're scary? Like, yeah, they're creepy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to hold one? No. But do I want it to like completely alter my entire life because a spider crawls on my arm? No, I can just like flick it off. Like I'm not going to die. I'm going to be okay. And like, what? Oh, they're actually really cool. And like, this is what they mean. It's like, oh, maybe if it's crawling on me, it means this. Like the dumbest things, right? But it's like changing the narrative in your head of, okay, this thing's going to kill me to wait, hold on. It's a sign.
Well, yeah. So funny little thing like that too. And this is an exercise that I would want everybody to do because I have never met someone that wasn't afraid of it.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, I know what you're going to do. Okay.
And the exercise that I would encourage everyone to do is if you have a basement, to go down in the basement at night when it's black and it's dark and turn off all the lights. And instead of running up the stairs thinking that somebody's chasing you, which everybody has done, right? I want you to sit in the darkness. And that makes that, truthfully, does that make you uncomfortable?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Why does it make you uncomfortable?
Because you don't know what's in the dark.
Okay. What is in the dark though? Why is somebody afraid of the dark?
Because of scary movies.
That's really good. That forms our perception of our reality, right?
For sure. But it's like, okay, cool. Wait, if you sit in the dark, like, I know this is annoying that I'm doing this, but this is how my mind's going. Yeah. It's like, okay, if I sit in the dark, maybe it could be peaceful.
Okay. So if you talk about darkness, it's just the absence of light.
Yeah.
You turn on the lights, everything's fine, because you can see your surroundings. You know what's in the room. You know what's going on, right? Turn the lights off, you don't know anymore, right? So there's this perception that our mind is again still trying to keep us safe. You don't know what's going on, and so I'm going to run.
Yeah.
Right. But if you sit there long enough in the darkness, you'll realize that the same exact things that were in the room when you turn the light on are still there, right? There wasn't somebody that came in. There's so many things that I used to be told that somebody's going to chase you, somebody's going to come out, like the Sixth Sense shit comes up for me, right? Like, I see dead people, like all that stuff. But in our reality, you're in the same place that you are with the light on, right? But our head will tell us these stories. And it's funny, when I started doing this practice, and there's even darkness retreats.
Yeah.
Like there's places where you go and you pay money to sit in a cave with an eye mask on just to see what comes up for you.
Oh, Sounds
right?
miserable.
I love it, and I cannot wait to do one. Because truthfully, our subconscious is just formulated with all of this stuff that's trying to keep us scared, trying to keep us fearful, right? The way that we are even governed keeps us fearful, right? And even if you look at that, it keeps you non-active. You don't do something if you're scared, right? Or you're persuaded to do one thing if you're scared. And that's not necessarily the thing for you, right? I know what you're going to go to.
I know I'm not going to do it.
But
I'm not going to do it.
So, but even in sitting in the dark in your basement, I would love for everyone to do this, because it gets you so uncomfortable to the point of, wow, someone's going to grab me. I do not know what's going to come on. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But you sit there long enough and nothing happens. And you dispel all of your fears. They go away. And after those fears go away, you finally get the chance to get out of your head and tap into your body and understand who you are without those fears. And I'm not even kidding you. This happens in 20 minutes in a dark basement. And it was one of the coolest practices that I've ever done. So yeah, I would encourage anybody to do that. So we talked about our emotion scale at the very beginning of this episode.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes.
And it's cool because the emotion scale, there's various emotions on it, like starting from shame, ending in enlightenment. But grief, fear, and desire all work together. And we wanted to touch a little bit about that because this is what we teach on. This is what we talk to our clients about. And genuinely, this is how I believe that you could make decisions in your whole entire life, right?
Yeah.
So if there's something that you are scared of, there's a reason why you're scared. And that reason is grief. And so grief is just defined as the loss of something. You are sad that you are losing something.
Yeah.
Right? And that makes you scared because that thing is gone. So something different has to happen. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting in fear because we've lost something. Right? We're grieving something. But on the other side of fear is desire. And I like to say desire is the same as getting you exactly what you want. And we've talked about that a little bit. And so I know that if I'm scared, if I can push into my fear, I will be a better person and I will get what I want out of it. Right? But if I stay stuck in fear, I will go back down to being a sad person that doesn't accomplish anything. Right? So my advice is that anytime that you actually are confronted with fear, you are finding your edge, which is I'm finding my limit, my glass ceiling, whatever you want to call it. And the only way for me to progress is to push through this fear. And I'm going to live in this spot where it's like the saying, like, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Well, it's actually so interesting. Like now that I'm thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
like if you look at the scale and you're looking at it and it's like fear and then grief, and then under grief is apathy, which we define as like the state that most people live in, is very numb. Just numb.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, as human beings, we literally let fear like catapult us back down to apathy most of the time because we're too scared to progress forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sit in fear. And so we grieve the life that we actually really want, or we're grieving the life that we think we should have, or the loss of
or even the action that you didn't take.
The action that you didn't take, or the missed opportunity, or, the things that we actually have no control over. And then it bumps us to apathy. Mm-hmm. And we don't know how to get out of apathy other than going back down into guilt and shame that are down. Do you know what I mean? And then we're in apathy, and then you go into guilt and you're like, I feel like shit because I didn't have the conversation. Yeah. And I didn't. Or I
said the wrong thing.
I said the wrong thing, or, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have, managed this better, or whatever the circumstance is. And then we go right back up to apathy. Yep. And then we just kind of work that bottom half of that scale, like continually as human beings. And so it's like, I keep saying it, but it's changing that narrative of fear. So when I'm in grief and I'm feeling something so heavy. I would say grief is heavy in a sense.
Yeah.
Letting that fear kind of like alchemize and be like, okay, no, I feel scared right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is my cue that I need to take action.
Yeah. What can I learn from this fear?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you only learn that by acting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So as you actually do something, you are going to learn why you were scared of that thing. But you're also going to realize and have the mental shift, like you talked about, of that actually wasn't my reality.
For sure. And
right?
I think
that
like,
actually wasn't real. So
as you go up, it's like fear and then it's desire.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, oh, I have this desire and I want it. And then it's anger.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to get it.
Oh gosh.
Like, let's go. Fuck yeah. Right. And then it's
anger,
pride.
Anger is the very last negative emotion.
Yeah.
But it's not even negative.
It's not negative. It's amazing. And then,
but then
it's pride. And then you have so much pride in every emotion and feeling every emotion on that scale because you know that it taught you something, whether or not there was an outcome or not.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing is that like, and if you want our emotion scale, please reach out to us and we can send it to you. It's something that changed my life, and genuinely it's changed the way that we communicate. It's changed the way that we live our lives, the way that we parent, everything. So, we would love to teach it to you as well. So
this is the last thing I'm landing on this.
You're totally fine.
I'm wrapping in the yoga thing because I remember why I brought it up.
Yeah.
But with it being in our sacral chakra and communicating with emotion.
Yeah.
And kind of tying it into fear, but really just communicating on emotion in general. Where it's connected to our sacral chakra. I believe that it's a lot of the reason why people struggle so much with their sex drives and like not in their intimacy in their relationship because they don't know how to vocalize what they're wanting in communicating their needs and their wants and doing all that. They're putting all of that on the other person of like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, instead of saying like, I need, like, you know, I'm really scared of this, or, you know, I'm grieving this, or this, you know, whatever that looks like on the emotion scale. So I believe truthfully, as you communicate with emotion, it opens up that center in your body, which is attached to your sex drive. And that libido goes up significantly, being able to actually express and vocalize what you're wanting and communicating based off of those emotional needs that you have.
Mm-hmm. And even from a guy's side, because that could be a woman's perspective or a male's perspective. But from my perspective, as I was able to do that and communicate openly, push past fear and tap into emotion, right? That same thing happened for me. Like, I mean, sure, call it energy centers. My sacral chakra opened up, right? Which going up opened up my heart, my throat, my third eye. Like I was able to actually express, right? Which gave me so much more confidence. And what does confidence do to a man, right? That pushes up libido, pushes up testosterone, all of those things. And so like when I say understanding emotions changed our lives, like it actually did.
Yeah.
And that's what we would love to teach to you guys. But genuinely in this, when you feel that you are scared of something, we want you to actually push through it and do it. And as you do that on a continual basis, every single day, and you find your edge, that's when you will be the best person for yourself, the person that God created you to be, the person that you want to be. Because if we stay behind fear, like I've said continually, we won't do anything with our lives. So for those of you that actually asked us to do this episode on fear, I hope that you got something from it. I know that you got something from it, but we love the recommendation. Truthfully, I do. Don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes my life a lot easier.
It does. But yeah, and it was something I'm super passionate about because it was something that was difficult for me to learn and actually execute in my life and in most people's lives. So
for sure.
But guys, thank you so much for sticking with us and listening to this episode. Please reach out to us if you are interested in our Connect community. It is such a cool space. And just to reiterate, it is for couples and for individuals.
Yep.
So if you join as an individual, your spouse automatically gets access to the other gender side of things, right?
Yep. We'll do things together. We'll do things separately. It's going to be pretty amazing. We'll roll it out here in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
We'll run it for 12 weeks, then we'll open it back up. But really, the community aspect of it has been really cool to see the interest, and then people who are in there and just different walks of life and different situations. So if you're interested, please reach out to us. You can email us at grindtogetherco@gmail.com, or you can always DM us on Instagram. The link for that is below in the show notes. If you have any other questions, please, please, please reach out. We love hearing from you guys, and we are so grateful that you are here every week with us. So we love you. We hope you have a great week. Go do something that you're scared of. Have the hard conversation. I promise you won't regret it.